Oh shit. We're dads.
That ending part, it kind of gets a little bit awkward. I'm like,
I feel like we're supposed to talk.
I know, same. But then I'm like, am I going to overpower it? Is it going to overpower me? And I'm going to sound like I'm 30 feet away.
Sometimes too, we like drag it down, but other times we don't. So sometimes we let it play all the way through, and other times we cut it short.
Yes. Wait, is this our first solo together?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is the first one, just moms.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of our listeners are just dads that listen. Like, they just listen for that part.
I don't feel like a lot.
Me either.
I feel like maybe even none.
Yeah. Well, actually, I did have one client. I don't want to like put out his name, but we were talking about something during one of our photo shoots. This was probably over a year now. And something got brought up, and we found out that he was listening to our podcast and didn't know it was us.
I remember you said that, like, he was just like, oh, this really good podcast I've been listening to. Mm-hmm. And then you found out that it was our podcast, which is it's so cool and so crazy because it's like we're not a big podcast yet.
I know, right?
So
he said it came
keyword
up.
Yet. So
right.
Make sure you follow us on everything so that we can become a big podcast.
I wonder how I've never, like, when I want to listen to a podcast, I know what it is already, and I'm not like Googling different types of things. But I remember he said like ours just came up. Have you ever like seen that? Like where it just comes up?
I mean, I guess maybe if like you're listening to a podcast and it's like a recommended one,
probably
like underneath it or something, like, oh, if you like this one, try this one type of thing.
True.
I know Spotify does that, but
maybe, because he was on Spotify.
Yeah.
So I feel like it must have been that.
Yeah.
It had to have been.
It'll give you like recommendations like on your main page, but also underneath the podcast that you're currently listening to, it'll give you like other options.
Oh, see, I'm an Apple user, Apple Podcast. So I don't know that side, but like I said, every time I want to listen to one, it's like, I already know, I'm like Googling that, you know, but, today it's just moms. It's weird, right?
It is weird.
The boys are on a 3 mile. Are they doing the 3 mile? Did they say? Yeah.
So. Brandon said Brandon's been working on the podcast studio, and he was like so upset when you said that it was just going to be us. And he's like, I worked so hard on this podcast studio, and you guys are just trying to keep me out of it. And I was like, one, this is the only podcast that you haven't been on since we started using this as a podcast studio. So I don't know why you're saying like we keep trying to keep you out of it, but
it looks great in here. Did he already have these sound things? Oh my gosh.
And then there's this one square so when he started hanging them up, and he started, that whole side section was completely blacked in, but then he was doing checkers everywhere else, and then from there over it was checkers, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, I was so annoyed because I was like, why are you doing it like that?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's fine. I'm like, no, it's not. If you're gonna do it right. And so then I went back and I made it all checkers because it was annoying me, and then he's like, leave that one square, and I was like, why? And he's like, just do it. And I was like,
why did he like? Did he say why he wanted?
He just wanted to have his like little
his little thing.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, if you don't know what we're referring to, you can go watch us now on YouTube. We are now going to consistently upload on. We have Cooper here with us, but we will be consistently uploading on YouTube now because we are going to be going live every podcast we have a chance, which should be everyone except if like me and Zach were to do a solo. That I don't know how we would do that, but every other podcast should be live. So if you want to watch our podcast, you can go to our YouTube at Oh Shit We're Dads, and we're gonna be going live. We also will be going live on Twitch at the same time, and then it will be uploaded right on YouTube. So if you guys want to see this and check it out, and check out the podcast studio.
Yeah, and we've been trying to build our following so we can do TikTok lives on our actual podcast TikTok page, because
they're strict.
They have so many stipulations.
Oh my gosh.
Apparently it's really hard to go live. We didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal, but apparently it is.
We literally went to go set it up, and it's like it didn't give us the option, and then we were Googling it, and then it said you have to have X amount of followers. So also one thing is you can follow us on all of our socials, but give us a review, right? And share our podcast.
Yeah.
The more the merrier.
I think
helps
that
us.
our podcast's for everyone too. It's, I mean, I know that it says, oh shit, we're dads, but one, it's not just dads. Clearly, it's moms too.
Right.
We just never changed the name of it. The concept changed, but we never changed the name of it.
Right.
But we talk a lot about parenting, but also not parenting stuff.
Yeah.
We have some serious ones, some not serious ones.
Right.
You know, you get a little bit of everything with us.
Yes.
So.
It's funny because the other day we have a group chat and Bear sent us like, what did he, I think he said send a photo like of yourself. So, and I was like, oh, is he making a new logo? But then he sent it and I didn't want to say anything because I felt bad, but like, I'm glad Lexi did. And she's like, I kind of like the original one. And I said it to Zach. I'm like, I'm really like, that's awesome. He wants to include us, but I feel like the OG one is just like good, right? It just like, I don't know, maybe one day something will come into fruition, but like I feel like the name and the logo are just so good.
Yeah, I just liked it better. I know what he was trying to do, and I think like if that was the original plan, it would have been great, and he did a great job. Like, you know, like making it seem like it was cohesive, but I don't know, I just didn't like it, and I don't know if it's just because I didn't like looking at myself in it or like what it was. Like, not that it was like bad, but like I don't know, I just looked at it and I was like, this just doesn't feel right. I like it better the original way. It just feels, I don't know.
Even like even our name, I just can't see it changing. It could be like, oh shit, we're parents, but like that could change one day. But I don't know. Oh shit, we're dads is just like so unique. Yeah. Like Sam came up with that, right? Yeah. Yeah. So like I don't know. I just love it, and like I'm still fine with it. But like I said, one day it could change. Who knows? Yeah,
we don't feel like excluded at all. So.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's so weird, like just me and Lexi, because it's always the four of us or just like us with our spouses doing it. But we're going to deep dive into a lot of like postpartum things that us women go through after having a child. And it's going to be good, this podcast, I think, because a lot of fathers to be or fathers who already have babies and want more, like their wives could have gone through things that we went through, but also maybe next kid they'll go through it and they didn't this time. So they'll be more they'll be more familiar with it, you know? Yeah,
and I feel like what we're going to talk about is stuff that just needs to be normalized so that people don't feel like alone, because it can feel so lonely and isolating when you're postpartum and you have a new baby and, you know, you're surrounded by people, but it doesn't matter. That feeling of loneliness still feels so strong. And like you said, like dads might not know how to respond to that, or they might think like, oh my God, like they're regretting having this baby or whatever it may be, but that's not really the case. Like these feelings are just, they're so intense and they are real, but they're not how you like truly feel deep down. It's just your brain, your mind, your hormones, it all just is making you feel these crazy intense feelings that are kind of unexplainable in a way.
And I saw something that it could take over a year for them to like even really, I'm quoting, if you're not watching our YouTube, normalize. Yeah. Which is insane. Yeah. Like, that's insane to think about. But it makes so much sense because you just spent 9+ months growing a child and creating a child. And, like, your body is just changing. And it's forever changed, no matter if you bounce back. Yeah. But, like, then it's trying to, after they say the response your body has, like, right after you have a baby is, like, it recognizes it, like, oh shit, you just had the baby, like, okay, let's get you back down. That's how your like stomach starts to go down and you bleed and like everything like that. Like it sends that signal, which is so crazy. It's just so crazy how that works.
Yeah, there's so much going on simultaneously in your body between the hormone drops and, you know, your body just changing and your mindset change. Like, you know, the hormones just affect so much. It affects how you feel mentally. It affects how you feel physically. Like there's just so much that hormones play a part in. And I don't think that people fully understand or appreciate that until you go through it. And then you're like, what the hell is happening to me?
Have you heard the saying that people are saying right now, especially TikTok is my TV. So like I'm on like the postpartum side a lot too, like getting your pink back. Have you heard that? Yeah. Do you feel like, how long do you think it took you to get your pink back after having Cortland?
Honestly, like, I don't even know that I fully ever got it back. And that's something that I've been kind of really putting forth effort to now that I'm postpartum with Cooper. Right. Is trying to find what I can do that's just for me and helping me fill my cup and like recharge. That's helps me have an identity outside of being just a mom, because
Right.
I love being a mom and it's the most important thing that I'll ever do in my life. And I wouldn't change that for the world, but that doesn't mean that it's not exhausting sometimes.
Right.
And you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's
Right.
something that like I keep saying, and Brandon's like, I don't understand this metaphor. But like, yeah, like, cause I told him that and he's like, I don't understand. I'm like, I'm just telling you, like, I need something just for me,
Yes.
like to help me recharge. And he's like, just say that. But like, but it's true though. Like, I just like, I don't think that I ever really got that with Court, because I was just so consumed with like being a mom, and I loved it so much. But now with Cooper, I'm realizing how important that is, especially because my time is split even more
Right.
now.
Right.
Like I have even less time for myself. So I think I'm appreciating like what time I really do need for myself now.
Right.
So
Did I send you that TikTok about this girl? I have not looked at her page, but now 2 of her videos have popped up and they are revolving kind of like what we're talking about. And the one that really resonated with me is like one where she was talking about how you can't pour from an empty cup. Did I send you that TikTok? I need to find it because
Maybe.
she explained it so well, and like we could just show it to Bear. Because she explains it so well, and she was basically just saying you can't pour from an empty cup. You need to fill your own cup. And like I have been struggling with that, and I never realized I was struggling with that until probably since Denver was over a year old.
yeah, I think that's when I
Yeah.
started to realize
Right.
it with Court, like when he hit it like a year. And I got pregnant when he was 11 months old too. So like it all like happened at the same time.
Yeah.
But then and especially now that like Cooper's been here, like I've had to have my moments where I'm like, I need to get out. I need to get
Right.
out of the house.
Right.
And with Court, I was so not like that. And I didn't want to leave the house, and I didn't want to leave him. And I felt like every single moment that I had to be with him. And I mean, I love him and I want to spend that time with him, don't get me wrong, but I was exhausting myself so much that I didn't have anything for myself. Like I had no interests or hobbies that were just for me.
Right.
I wasn't taking care of myself because I was taking care of him, and
Right.
it was making me feel terrible. And so that was something that I really wanted to do right with Cooper this time and make sure that I was putting forth the effort to do, because I didn't have that with Court. And it worked out with Cooper too, that he was born in December, and so it was right around the new year, and so I kind of was like rolled it into like, these are my goals for the year.
Right.
And I feel like I've been doing a pretty decent job of it. I haven't figured it out completely yet, because it's hard to balance, like
Right.
you know, like I feel like I have to sacrifice something to be doing that. And right now it's my sleep. When I go back to work, I don't
Yeah.
really know what I'm going to be sacrificing.
Right.
But like right now it's like, okay, the kids are both asleep. Like that's my time to then like, you know, go take a really hot shower
Yeah.
for more than just 10 minutes. 'Cause
Or just
usually-
rot.
Yeah. Like,
Or just
just like
just do
lay
fucking
on the
nothing.
couch, lay in
Yeah.
bed, like just do nothing. Or go out and like tell
Right.
Brandon, like, I need to get out of the house by myself for a while. Like I want to go to dinner with my friend or my mom or
Right.
whatever. And I just need you to keep the boys so I can go do that.
Right. Right.
'Cause it's with a toddler, I feel like that's probably why I've been so like adamant about doing it now, because
Yeah.
I mean, like, every stage has its challenges,
Right.
but
Right.
toddler is definitely
Oh my gosh, yes, it's
the
a lot.
hardest cycle of parenthood so far.
Well, if you think about it, like, who knows if your hormones, like, how much they leveled out? Because you said you got pregnant with
Yeah.
Cooper at 11 months. So, like, then your hormones just pick back up again.
Yeah.
So it's like, did they really go back, I'm quoting, to normal?
Yeah.
Like, did you really feel like yourself again? Or were they still, like, crashing in a funk? And then you're trying to figure out, like, how you feel. And then now they're just, like, elevating
Yeah.
again and going back to, okay, I'm pregnant, like my body's pregnant. It needs to do what it needs to do to get pregnant and grow a baby.
Yeah.
You know? So it's
Yeah.
like it's just so much like in your nervous system.
Yeah, I definitely think I struggled really hard at the beginning of my pregnancy with Cooper. Like first trimester, beginning of second trimester, just emotionally, because I don't know, I was overwhelmed with everything. Like I just felt like I didn't know where I stood in life, and I just felt overwhelmed, and I was obviously like the normal thoughts of like, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
And then the thoughts of having 2 under 2 is so scary too. Like, how is this going to work? Is Cortland going to be okay? Am I going to be okay? Are we going to be able to do this? Is Cooper going to have his time? Like, you know, how are we going to make all the pieces work together? But I had such a hard time, and I like didn't really understand why, but I think it was because of that. I feel like my body like kind of went into shock, and like I just felt like I was in a constant state of fight or flight for like a solid probably month or so. Because I don't know, I was just so overwhelmed with everything. All the feelings were just so heavy.
Yes. Yeah. Do you feel like you're in tune with your feelings? Do you feel like you're able to like know what you're feeling?
Yeah, I think I'm able to know what I'm feeling, but what I struggle is when I do get into that like fight or flight kind of state, like calming down and like bringing myself back. Once I'm already at that heightened state can be so hard for me sometimes. And then especially when I feel like I don't have a chance to just, you know, feel what I'm feeling because
it's just
I had to work still. I was pregnant. I had to take care of my toddler. Like I had these other responsibilities where I couldn't just focus on me and getting myself right. And so it took me a while to kind of get back and realize that like things were not as bad as they felt, but in that moment they felt terrible. They did not feel good. Like I just remember like calling my mom. My mom was in on a trip with my sister, and they were on the West Coast, and I was like, I feel like I'm dying right now. Like I literally feel like I'm just dying.
Were you what month were you pregnant during that time?
That was like summer, so I was probably like 3 or 4 months pregnant at that point.
So like right around the getting pregnant, like starting a fresh 3-week mark. Like around that.
Yeah,
maybe.
so like I was like end of first trimester, beginning of second trimester, and first trimester is so hard because you don't feel good physically. And then when you're not feeling good physically all the time, it starts to weigh on your mental health. And a pregnancy symptom that I've had with both pregnancies is insomnia. So then I wasn't sleeping well. So on like not feeling well, not sleeping well, working, having a toddler, being stressed, and just like, how am I going to do all of this? How is this going to work? And I'm like, if I can't even handle being pregnant, how am I supposed to handle having 2 kids? And I mean, my pregnancies weren't planned either. So that was like just absorbing that was a lot.
Accepting it, being like, oh my gosh, another one. Yes. No, I totally understand that. How do you feel like, in those heightened moments that you're able to like tell Bear like, and he responds well to it, or do you feel like it's another thing? Like, oh my gosh, I have to explain this to him. And like, it's hard because sometimes I feel like men don't understand certain things. So this is also why we're here on this podcast, is so any guys who listen to just give some insight, because we can't blame them for not knowing, because like they don't get pregnant, so they're like not going to understand. Their hormone shift isn't going to happen from being pregnant. Obviously in other ways hormone shifts can happen, but like the things that we're experiencing. Yeah,
I definitely think that Brandon, as much to the naked eye that is not myself, like he is very emotionally intelligent. He's not very like emotional himself, but as far as like handling my emotions, he does really well with. And
that's good.
I am a very much, I wear my emotions on my sleeve. You can usually tell that I'm not feeling great if I'm not feeling great. But I also like to just really talk about it all.
Cooper's joining.
So I just like to, I feel like better when I get my feelings out in the open. So like I talk about them a lot when I'm feeling that overwhelmed feeling.
It's really good.
Because it just kind of helps me just kind of get
like a coping way, right?
Like just once I get it out of my brain, it doesn't feel so heavy anymore. So
that's good. That's good. You feel comfortable to like release your emotions.
And Brandon's really awesome too, in the sense of like he was very reassuring of my feelings, and like, you know, like what you're feeling's okay. It's normal. Like he didn't make me feel bad about my feelings, because I think that that's something that is, you already feel bad. Nobody feels worse about the feelings you're having than you do, because whether it's you're accepting your pregnancy or it's right after you gave birth, like you have a lot of these feelings and you kind of, I mean, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but I know that this is a very common experience amongst other people where you have these moments where you're like, what did I do? Like, why did I do this? Like, did I make the right choice? Like, did I just screw up my whole life? Like, how can I handle this? Or like, you know, like sometimes you have those moments where you're like, I don't want to be a mom right now. Like, I don't want to be a parent right now. And so,
which is normal.
Yeah. And like, or like in my instance with this pregnancy specifically, like I was having all this guilt of, did I give my firstborn enough time by himself? I feel guilty that I'm bringing another kid into this world because is he going to be okay? Did he get enough attention? Did he get enough one-on-one? How is he going to handle this? Is he going to be resentful that we have another baby? Is this going to affect him psychologically as he gets older? You know, like, am I screwing him up by doing this? Am I screwing up my secondborn by doing this? Is he going to feel like all these negative feelings that like anybody may have? And how am I going to, you know, how am I going to have enough love in my heart for both of them? How am I going to make enough time for both of them? There's so many feelings that are I don't want to say negative because they're normal, but like they feel so negative. And so you have such guilt for feeling them because you're supposed to be in quotations, you know, sunshines and rainbows. This is also wonderful and happy. Pregnancy is such a beautiful thing. It's such a miracle. You're bringing a baby into this world. And while it is those things, it's also these darker things as well. Like it's not always sunshines and rainbows. It's sometimes really bad. Sometimes you really are not doing well, and that's okay to feel that way, and it's completely normal. But in making sure that you have a partner who supports how you feel and doesn't make you feel guilty for feeling those things, I think is super, super important. Super important.
And I feel like when people struggle to relay that message or feeling across with their spouse, it just needs to be taken like a different way.
Yeah.
I've just like known other people who have gone through similar things we're talking about, and their spouse isn't taking it the right way, and it can be hard, and which I totally get when someone comes from like a different outlook on life, or like maybe they weren't raised in the best family scenario emotionally, that it takes them a second to understand. But it's so good that you find that just like that trust to get your emotions out and everything.
Yeah.
It can be so hard though.
Yeah.
Which I get. Like, I feel like we definitely will have some listeners listening to this that go on both sides. Like the people that I have came across with and what you're going through. And it's really good it's so hard because you find a lot of people who are in like stuck in like old ways too. Mm-hmm. And it can be so hard when certain emotions are brought out, but I feel like honestly though, in our day and age with social media, it can be so bad but so good at the same time because it like puts information out like this.
Yeah. And it gives you a sense of community where you can find people who are going through similar situations or have similar viewpoints as you.
Right. Have you thought of ways this time around already on ways to fill your cup?
Yeah, I definitely want to take better care of myself. I feel like that was something that I was lacking with Cortland. Oh, you okay? You okay?
Baby cries, ASMR.
And we're back.
That's all that babies do. Eat, sleep, poop.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's just so weird. Like, I remember when we just had Denver and Bear was like, I can't wait for this again. Like, I miss it. And I was like, how do you forget it? I forget that. Like, just holding him while he was crying and you were going to get the bottle. Like, I forget that. The hunger cry. And they're just like, I'm tired. I'm hungry. But, like, just how small he is, even though he's, like, not small, but small. Yeah. You know, just so tiny. It's so cute.
Gives you baby fever, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. It really does. He's so cute. He's so cute. Okay, so let's go back into filling. How are you filling your cup this time around?
Yeah, so last time I feel like I didn't do anything to fill my cup, truthfully. I can't really think of anything that I had that was just for me besides maybe like sometimes I'd go get my nails done or something, but even that felt like a chore to me. Like, it was something that I like to have done, but it felt
I have to go get my nails. Like,
yeah,
that.
like,
But,
it
like,
just,
you're not ungrateful. It's just, like, another thing,
yeah,
you know?
it's, like, something that I enjoy having done after it's done, but going to get my nails done in itself and being like, okay, I have to sit at the nail salon for an hour and a half, like, I could be doing much more productive stuff with my time. I think that was, like, my biggest thing. And I think that's something that I'm trying to kind of change my mindset on too. Like, my worth is not based off of my productivity. Because if I'm not being productive, I feel like garbage.
Right. 100%.
So I think I'm trying to just tell myself it's okay to fill my cup by doing nothing. Like, it's okay that
literally nothing. Yes.
Fill my cup is laying and scrolling on my phone, or filling my cup is standing in the shower for 30 minutes until the water runs cold because I can. Like, you know, like, I was telling Brandon that, like, taking a shower is, like, the one time of day where every single day, guaranteed, like, that is just my time. Like, that's the only
to
time
decompress and be like,
that's the only time where, like, taking care of me is the only thing that I can do in that moment.
Right.
Like, when I'm showering, I can't be feeding Cooper or changing a diaper or cleaning the house or doing laundry. You know, like, I can't be multitasking and doing those things. The only thing I can do is
just sit there,
clean myself.
Yeah, right. That's
like,
it.
Take care of myself, wash my hair, wash my body. I've been watching my shows in the shower. Like, I prop my phone up and I watch my show because I'm like, you know, it gives me something to distract my mind while I'm standing in the shower. I like having the hot water just, like, running down my body. It feels good. It, like, helps me kind of unwind and relax after a really long day. So that's, like, my one time where I tell Brandon, like, okay, I'm going in the shower. Like, this is my time.
Like, don't bother me.
Yeah. This is my time. And he takes those showers. Like, he always takes long showers. He always has. And me, I don't know why, I've always been, like, a quick shower where I'm like in and out in like 5 to 10 minutes. Even if I wash my hair, I'm done, like, in 10 minutes.
That's impressive.
Like, I just like like, I'm like, get in, get out. And so I've been really, like, taking my time with my showers now because it's that one time of day where I can just focus on me, and I've learned that I've appreciated that. So I'm trying to, you know, just figure out, even if it's only 30 minutes a day, what I can do for just myself. But I also have been trying to, like, get back into the things that I used to enjoy before I had kids, because, like, I used to do yoga every week and I stopped doing that when I got pregnant. And I never started back up after Cortland was born because with what time can I have to do it? And then I also wanted to spend, like, every moment that I wasn't at work with him. And so, like, doing those things or just getting outside in general, I feel like is something that I've kind of really tried to prioritize this time around postpartum, because I realized that the days where I just sit inside all day with the kids, I, by the end of the day, feel just so mentally drained. And then I wake up the next day still feeling that same draining feeling. And I just feel in such a bad headspace. Right. And then Brandon will kind of notice that and he'll be like, we got to get out of the house today. Like, you got to go. And I mean, that's something that's been so beneficial too about him being home with me this time around. Yes. And me not being by myself, is that he's able to, like, recognize those things when maybe I can't recognize those things, or when I can recognize those things, but I don't have, like, the self, like, willpower to do it. You know, it's when sometimes you just, like, you know what you need to do to make yourself feel better, but it's really hard to just make yourself get up and do those things. Even if it's as simple as brushing your teeth or washing your face or whatever, like putting on clothes, like, you know that those things are going to make you feel better, but the thought of doing it just feels like paralyzing almost, where you're like, I can't get up and do that. And so having somebody else there that's like, no, we're getting up and we're doing this. And like, I might be pissed off at him for the moment, because I'm like, I really don't want to do anything right now. I just want to stay here. And then once I get out, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you did that. Like, I'm glad you made me get out of the house, because if not, I would have been going crazy. So yeah, just kind of trying to find hobbies that are just for myself. And
that's great.
I don't really know what those are yet, but I'm trying to figure it out as I go.
And we're still, even though we're old, we're young.
Yeah.
We got time.
Yeah, I know. I feel like I'm so old sometimes, and then I'm like, no, I'm really young. And then sometimes I feel like I'm like a teenage mom. And then I'm like, no, I'm in my mid-20s.
Right. I know it's like hard to say, because you won't really be able to say you have this set plan until you get back into the rhythm of going to work. But do you have a set plan for how you're going to kind of navigate it. Are you jumping back in part-time, full-time, hour-wise? Like, do you have like any type of plan when you come home from work, what you want to do to keep your relationship as husband and wife, but also filling your own cup, but then obviously kid time?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I definitely feel like Brandon and I's relationship, it's like I feel like you have to kind of choose. Are you guys gonna fill your own cups or fill each other's cups as a couple?
Right.
And that's something that I've definitely been thinking like heavily about, because there'll be times where I just feel so angry towards Brandon, and I don't even know why exactly. I just feel so angry towards him, and I have this like resentful feeling almost. And then I start thinking like, well, I'm responsible for doing the laundry, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then it like makes me start getting so mad. But then I like have to take a second and like be like, okay, but like I do that, but he takes care of the dogs. Like he does the trash. If I tell him I need a minute, he never questions it. He just gives it to me. And there's like those things where you kind of just forget. But when I feel like you're like on your own roads almost as a parent sometimes, where like you guys are together, but you know, you have XYZ responsibilities. He has XYZ responsibilities. Those are your established things. And you kind of forget that the other person is doing those things.
Yes. It can be very easy to forget.
And that's something that I've been trying to be super mindful of. But I have my moments where I don't do the best, and sometimes I rightfully am upset with Brandon. You know,
which
like,
all of this is normal.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Like sometimes I do feel like I'm doing way too much of everything, and he's not holding up enough. And you know, I think that that's very normal, but that's something that I'm a little stressed out about, honestly, going back to work, is like I'm already struggling finding the balance of how to do it all now. So when I go back to work, how is that all going to work?
Are you going back full-time, normal hours?
Yeah.
Are you excited to go back? How are you feeling?
I'm somewhat excited. I'd say I feel like 50-50 about it.
Oh, okay.
I feel somewhat excited to go back just because I want a sense of like normalcy a little bit again,
like routine,
where like
type
routine
thing?
and schedule. And I don't like with what I do for work, like I have my own clients and stuff. And so like it's stressing me out that I'm away from them, because I'm like, what's happening with them? Like, what are they going to be like when I come back? Like,
true.
kind of like all those things, especially because I'm a little bit of a control freak and I like my things the way that I like my things. And so like I've been having other people cover for me, which I'm grateful for, and I trust them like wholeheartedly. Like I don't think they're gonna like screw anything up, but it's just everybody has their own way of doing things, and I like my way the best,
which is fun. I mean, with your job, that's like like just like the way I like things organized and stuff. So like from that standpoint, like I'm excited to go back and get it back in the way that I like it, but at the same time I'm a little nervous to see like, is it going to be overwhelming when I go back? And I'm nervous for like the time, like the days go with Cortland. I felt like the days went by slow, but like the weeks went by fast. Whereas with Cooper, I feel like everything is going by so fast. Faster with him.
Yeah, like the days are going by really quick because I'm working off of two schedules now, because there's Cortland's schedule and then there's Cooper's schedule.
Right.
And obviously they're not the same. So by the time like, you know, we wake up, we have breakfast, we play, then it's nap time, then we wake up from nap time, and if we leave the house, by the time we do leave the house, it's like 4:00 at the end. By the time like we get nap time in, we get dressed, we get lunch, like, you know, it's like we can't even leave the house until it's like 4 or 5 o'clock.
Yes.
And then it gets dark so early right now, and so it's like,
oh, I can't wait until the time changes.
I know, me too. So it's just, I'm like, the days are going by so fast in that sense where like I can't even get out of the house usually on a normal day before 4:00. So like, how am I supposed to like work a whole day by 4:00 and then come home and squeeze in all these different things? But I definitely feel at ease. I mean, my kids have never gone to daycare, so that was something that was really stressful though when I found out I was pregnant, because we weren't really sure what our childcare plans were going to be. And I didn't want Court to go to daycare. So, but I mean, right now, at least our plan is for Brandon to stay home, and that is our plan in some capacity moving forward. Whether he's just staying home like full time, or we end up having to kind of work opposite schedules where he's working when I'm coming home from work, we'll see. But our goal is for that not to have to be the case.
Right.
So that's been kind of easing my mind a little bit, that at least if I'm not home, they're still with one of us.
Right. True.
Again, I was fortunate enough that Court didn't have to go to daycare.
Yes.
When I went back to work last time, he was with my sister or my mom, and then Brandon was off 2 weekdays a week. So he was with family at all times, but I had this guilt that what is it doing to him psychologically to be separated from both his parents for so long every single day. And it was easier than if he was going to school, but I mean, it was still stressful. So this time around, at least I know like they're with their dad.
Yes.
So like they still have that bond, and he's able, I work super close to our house too. So he's already saying, he's like, I'm going to come visit you every day, at least once a day.
Like at lunch or something, your lunch break?
Yeah, like I don't get like a formal lunch break where it's like, oh, I leave, but like, you know, like he can come and like I can run outside and see them for a minute. Or if like I am having a hard day, like luckily I have that flexibility where I'm like, hey, I'm having a hard day, like I need to go take an hour and be with my kids, and then I'll come back. Which I'm so grateful for, because I know that that's not the luxury of a lot of people's 9 to 5.
Of course.
So that's something that I'm so grateful to know, and that's easing my mind too, going back into it, is that I make my own schedule. So as long as I'm meeting what I need to meet, like I can play my schedule around how things are going and how I'm feeling. And if I need to take a half day, I can take a half day. If I need to work from home for a day, I can work from home for a day. Like
yes.
I'm able to do those things. So that's something that's super like I can't think of the word right now, but like it just eases my mind. It's just making me feel better about going back.
Yeah. Do you think that you could see yourself wanting to stay home in a few years, or do you still want to keep working?
I've never really planned to be a stay-at-home parent. But it's a hard job. Like maternity leave to me it's so awesome, and on the one hand, like I wish I didn't have to work, but at the same time I know deep down in my heart I don't think that I would be happy as a stay-at-home parent. Not because I don't love spending time with my kids, but like I need something that's just for me.
Like which is working. Great.
I like what I do, and I like working with the kids that I work with. I build relationships with them and their families, and so I find what I do rewarding. And I know there was a little bit of a period of time where I wasn't sure if I was feeling that, but now looking back, like I was pregnant, I was freshly postpartum, like I had like a lot of hormones, and all I was thinking about was, what about my own kids? Like, when am I going to see my own kids? How am I going to spend time with my own kids? And now I've kind of gotten a new perspective on it of, like, Corey gets tired of me. Like, like, I mean, like, truthfully put, like, he gets tired of me. And just like a parent gets fed up with, like, their kids sometimes, and is like, I need a break. Like, Cortland can be the same way as a toddler. Like, I saw it so plainly a couple of weeks ago where he was having just such a whiny toddler day. Like everything was upsetting him. Nothing was making him happy. You got it? Do you want it? Nothing was making him happy. He woke up from his nap angry at the world, and like I would just look at him and he'd be like, no. And like everything was like, anything I said, anything I did was just like the end of the world to him. He was just screaming, crying, like just attitude galore. And I texted my sister and I said, come get your nephew, he has an attitude. And she said, really? And I said, you don't actually have to pick him up, but if you want to come over, you can. Oh my goodness. Good. But I was like, if you want to come over, you can. And so she came over, and as soon as she got here, he was fine. It was like nothing. She's like, he's not in a bad mood. I'm like, he has been for the last 6 hours. Like,
oh my god.
but like, he was just like tired of me and Brandon. Like, he didn't want us anymore.
so
he wanted to spend time with somebody else, I guess. And then he was happy and he was fine until he went to bed. So like, I think that he gets tired of us, just like sometimes we were like, we want a break. He's like, I want a break. Like, I don't want to be with you guys anymore. So I think that it's honestly good. And when I was struggling so much on going back to work last time and I was talking about it in therapy, my therapist said something to me that really stuck and resonated with me. And she said that just because you're losing quantity of time doesn't mean you're losing a quality of time. And I think that that's something that's really stuck with me, because I know that if I was, I mean, it kind of was a perfect example right there. Like, if I'm with him all the time, the quality of our time together might not be as good.
Yeah.
Because I can't give him 120% all the time.
Right.
And so, but because I know that we're not going to be together every single hour of the day with like both of my kids, it kind of gives me a chance to make sure that those times that I am with them, I'm giving them my attention, my all. Great. Like, I'm giving them what they need. And I think that at the end of the day is going to be more beneficial to them than them spending all their time with me.
Yeah, 100%. Because they're going to remember when they can form those memories is like, mom came home from work and we played.
Yeah.
She hung out with me. And it's like going back to where you had mentioned that, like, not just having your identity as Cortland and Cooper's mom.
Yeah.
Like, you were able to have your identity outside of that. Like,
yeah.
I am doing this for work and like I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like part of filling your own cup.
Yeah.
You know?
And Brandon and I were talking about something earlier too that I think kind of made me realize like our difference in perspective on this. And I think it gave him a new perspective to why sometimes maybe I do get a little too overstimulated and I say like, I need a break, or, you know, I need you to take stuff off my plate, or like, I don't want to have to ask you to do X, Y, and Z. I just want you to know to do X, Y, and Z. And like, I've told him, I was like, my whole identity is being something for somebody else, but whether it's being a mom to our kids, being a wife to you, being a daughter, being a sister, being a friend, you know, like that's a lot of pressure. And he's like, you know, I didn't really ever think about that, but like, you are the oldest daughter. And I feel like that comes with an added responsibility that you don't really think about, but like, you know, like, I wouldn't change any of this, but like my sisters come to me when they need me. Like my mom comes to me when she needs me. My brother comes to me when he needs me. Brandon comes to me. My friends come to me. My kids come to me. And at some point, like, how do I take care of everybody else when I can't even take care of myself? Exactly. Or how do I take care of myself when I'm so busy taking care of everybody else? Right. So I think that that's why in our relationship, at least, like Brandon being the stay-at-home parent is going to work out better because he doesn't have those added responsibilities. You know, like he's not close to his siblings. So they're not coming to him for anything. And you know, like he just doesn't have that same family dynamic that I have. Right. You know, he doesn't have those same friendship dynamics because he's a guy. Like, you know, they're just different. And
they're just like not that emotional. Like,
him personally, like, you know, like I feel like Zach is a friend where, like, you know, like if a friend was struggling, they'd go to him and be like, hey, like,
because he's very emotional.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like I want to talk about my feelings and like how I feel about this situation.
Bring them to me.
Exactly.
Yes.
And Brandon's not that person that you do, so nobody relies on him for those things. So I think that it's something that like he never really fully realized until he like kind of just got on the topic of it today. Yeah. And so I think that's why it works out better for him to be the stay-at-home parent, because he has less emotional responsibility to other people, where he can have that capacity to be that stay-at-home parent all the time. And he's just better too about kind of just like he's just kind of better too at like just going with the flow.
Such his personality.
And I feel like that's good for staying at home.
Yeah.
Like, whereas like me, like I like plans, like I like organization.
That's like
and
me
so
and Zach,
I start
yeah.
to feel frazzle brained when I'm staying home all the time with both the kids because I'm like, kids have their own internal clocks or plans. Like I can't control that a lot of the time. And so I feel like overall, like we're both going to be where we're supposed to be. And I also worked really hard to get where I'm at, like career wise.
Right.
And Brandon doesn't really care what he does. He wants to stay home.
He's been raving about it.
That's like the best thing that he could do. So,
brief second. Reality over here. But everyone likes to hear that. You see the lights?
I hear them downstairs.
Oh, they're back.
Yeah. You okay?
Good soundproof headphones. I don't hear that.
So yeah. So going back to work is like something that's I'm kind of excited for. I'm also kind of nervous for. I definitely think it's not going to be easy. I know it's not going to be easy. Like
it's going to be an adjustment, like a new chapter. You're just opening up now another new chapter with going back to work with two kids.
Yeah, it's going to be a new chapter. It's going to be an adjustment. I'm going to be sad. I already am mentally prepared for that. So it just is what it is.
Right.
And, I feel like there's something that I feel like isn't normalized really is stay-at-home dads instead of stay-at-home moms.
Right, 100%.
And that's just it's just the dad's job to go make the money and make that sacrifice. And I feel like I'm kind of having to tell myself that, if that makes sense, where this is the sacrifice that I'm making for my family.
Right.
I don't get to be with them all the time, but I am providing the income for my family.
Yes.
At least the majority of the income for my family. And I worked hard to get to where I am to be able to do that. Right. So,
and I think you'll be inspiring to the boys as they get older, and just that they realize that their mom continued to follow what she wanted to do.
Yeah.
And had her own identity. It would probably inspire them to be like that as they're older, to keep that strong suit for themselves, you know, because you don't think back to hold on, I gotta go hit something. You don't think back to our parents being at work and being like, oh, they're at work all day. I didn't see them much. I don't think about that at all. I think about is the fun memories I had with my mom and everything that. Not that she had to go to work. You just make do. As you adjust, they adjust.
Yeah.
And it's they don't even realize they're adjusting.
Yeah. I feel too, it's I never thought anything of my mom going to work because the time that she was off, she was spending with us. She wanted to be with us.
Yes.
I knew that it wasn't that she was going to work because she wanted to not be with me. I knew she was going to work because she needed to give me the life that she wanted to give me.
Right.
But when she wasn't at work, I was her focus. Me and my siblings were her focus, and she dedicated every other part to her life towards that. And so I never once felt like she was choosing work over me.
Right.
Whereas other parents, maybe they do work a lot, but then when they're not working, they're not choosing to be with their kid. They're choosing to go do what they want to do, which is okay sometimes. But when it's a constant thing, then that's where it starts to feel they're always choosing something else in front instead of me.
Right.
Right. So I don't think that they'll feel that way by any means, but
no, not at all.
Yeah.
I don't think they will either. I had a realization of my feelings. I literally voice memoed myself on the voice memo app to remember this because I never wanted to forget. It was I have friends who have told me they've had out of body experiences. I think I experienced my first one when we were in New York. I had a couple photo shoots out there, and it was a whole day because even though I think I had 2 shoots that day. And even though I had 2 shoots, Oh, well, I technically had, it was like a 3-in-1 because we also did a family shoot out there. And even though I had that, New York is such a big but small city, and it can sometimes take forever to get to point A or point B where you're going from. And it was a whole time thing. Like, there was one day where I just worked all day, and I was so fucking tired. I remember being so tired. My phone was on 12%. My clients, thank God, had one of the back charger things, the wireless ones, because my phone, like, we realized that right when it was starting to pour. And so I charged my phone for like 5 minutes, and I can't remember. I think I had like 5% left. And I had to go north to the city, and I was one of the furthest southern points you can get. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I'm about to be in New York City alone with no battery, nothing. I had no charger on me. I don't know what was going on that day.
It sounds like my worst nightmare.
And so I'm using, there's this app that you can use where you plug in, it like gets your location from where you're at and where you need to go. And it tells you exactly, it's kind of like walking directions, but it then also tells you what train you need to get on and what stop you need to get off at. So that was great, but I needed to use it. So I'm like, the train ride overall was like over an hour where I was sitting on the train, but I needed to keep my directions up to see like what stop and everything if I needed to transfer. And so I was just sitting there, not on my phone, just like exhausted. So I was exhausted at this point, and I'm like just thinking about life and thinking about everything, and just like thinking about how grateful I am to be in the position I am right now. Like, I'm doing dream photo shoots in one of my favorite cities, but then it's like I'm exhausted and I'm working hard, but I was just realizing like how good it feels to be exhausted. Like, it's such a good feeling that you're able to feel like that, like to feel like, and I remember, you know, everyone knows New York as a hustle bustle city, which it is. And like, I think I was going through like 8 subway stops, maybe more, but just seeing the hustle bustle coming in, it was like 8:00 at night, and the people who are just dressed in all their work gear, briefcases, like they are just moving, and they're exhausted. Like, you know, they're exhausted, but it's such a nice feeling to feel that emotion, you know, like to feel good for where you're at in life. I don't know, it's just such an out of body experience. And then just like, I now think about, I put that into my everyday life. So like, I don't know what you'd call me, because I'm like a stay-at-home mom during the day. Yeah. But I'm like, I have a business that I run full time. So I don't know what you'd call me, like a working mom. I don't know. Because, like, you're a working mom, but, like, I don't know what I'm defined as.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like a work from home, like, stay-at-home mom.
Yeah. It was such a hard, so going through 2 pregnancies, basically back to back, both of them, like, doing research here and there, but you don't truly know what it's like until you start getting into the rhythm of having a kid and having to take care of them. So in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, Denver naps, like, I'm going to be able to work. Like, no the fuck I'm not. No the fuck I'm, like, there is no way I'm able to work. And that was a really hard reality for me to grasp, because I love my job, and I'm just such a social person. So I love the social interactions I have with people. And every time I work, I want to put my all into an email. I want to put my all into editing. So, like, my work hours are when Zach gets home, we have family time, and then we have like dinner I cook dinner, Denver bath, and then bed, and then we try to have our time, but then it's like I need to work. Mm-hmm. You know, like I need to work. So like my work hours are 10 p.m. sometimes, 2 a.m., and then I wake up the next day with her. Can be anywhere from like 8 to 9 or earlier. Like today it was 7:30, and I was like, girl, I'm tired. And I'm like, I couldn't get any work done this morning because she woke up unexpected. But it was a really hard thing for me to grasp, because I went into it thinking higher. Yeah. And I didn't think I would have to adjust as much in my life as I did, but I did. And I remember the first time that Denver, my mother-in-law watched Denver, was one of the first times I was away from her. It was just for a few hours so I could get work done. And I was like probably 4 months postpartum or something. And I was like on the phone with Zach crying. I'm like, I feel so bad. I feel so guilty. Like, this is such a shitty feeling. Like, should I ask her to bring her back? Like, I feel like a horrible mom that I'm having to put her on someone else to get work done. Like, she's more important than my work. What am I doing? And he's like trying to bring me down from it. He's like, you're fine. Like, it's just a few hours. Like, just like things that I know. Mm-hmm. But when you are feeling those feelings so hard, it's like that's the only thing you're feeling.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, it's nice because now that I feel like I'm, from this out-of-body experience, more in tune with my feelings and more grateful, I'm able to be like, oh yeah, like that is fine. Or like, I'm okay. Like, it's okay to feel sad, angry, confused. Like, it's good that you're able to like realize what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And it was just such a hard, going back to adjustment, just such a hard adjustment, and all tying in with postpartum, like my hormones were crashing. I remember one time, like I called Zach and I'm like, I am so sad. Like this did not happen. This was probably only 2 times it happened to me postpartum, thankfully, because I was worried about like, you don't know what to expect, how your hormones are going to be. I remember calling him one day and I'm like, I am so sad. Like I'm crying so much. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm crying.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I crying at? But I'm so sad right now.
Yeah.
And he's like, we were just going back, like same thing, like it's okay to feel that way, like it's probably just a little bit of baby blues. And he's like, you should just keep telling me when you feel that way so you don't ever feel alone, which was so important.
Yeah.
But it's just been so hard, like but I think that New York thing, even though I was in tune with my feelings during those hard times, I feel like now and then for our future kids, I'll be a little bit better with being more in tune, because being like, oh, hey, Bear.
Hello. Hi. Hey, Cooper. Hi, Cooper. Cooper. Hi.
Did you run?
No, we're lifting weights in the garage.
Oh.
Okay.
The kids are losing it.
Oh, shit. But I feel like for future kids, it will help me next time around how to notice what I'm feeling is okay, and it's not the end of the world. And even though in that moment it can literally feel like the end of the world, like when Zach's bringing me down, instead of being like, yeah, I know it's right, but like, actually, yes, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it is okay to feel those feelings, and I am grateful to be able to feel those feelings. And like, when I was in New York and just so fucking tired, I'm like, I am so grateful to be here, be feeling like tiredness, be feeling all these emotions. Just like, I think what's really helped me to fill my cup is like gratitude. Like being grateful for things, even if it's a shitty situation. Like, oh, I'm grateful this horrible thing happened because maybe it's teaching me a lesson.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So like when things happen, I'm like, I'm grateful that happened. Like, yeah, okay. Like who knows? Like, you know, you see those posts all the time, and I've said this to Zach before I've seen this post, like, you know, maybe you forgot something at home because you would have just gotten in a car accident, like on your way somewhere. Maybe that's why you turned around. You like, there's just like little things like that. So I think it's really helped my perspective. Another thing, guys.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
On that.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to say that like gratitude is what fills your cup, because I feel like people often, I know that I personally like think like, okay, like how do I fill my cup? And like you think of it as like actual like actions. Like I have to go, you know, go get my nails done or get my hair done, or, you know, go work out, go do yoga, go do something. Like it's like a thing that you do to fill your cup. But that's interesting to think like, you know, it could just be like a way of thinking fills your cup. Right.
Changing my perspective. Yeah. It really has filled, like just changing my and I kind of have implemented it on Zach. So where things happen and I say it out loud, like, you know, I'm grateful this is this way. And he's like, oh yeah, I've never really thought about it that way. Yeah. He's like, that makes me feel better about the situation. And it's kind of like tricking your mind, but not in a sense. Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Another thing, there's a few more things that have really filled my cup lately is, so when I was pregnant with Zeppelin and then Denver, I swelled so much 32 weeks and on. My feet were literally
so swollen.
Oh my gosh, it felt like I was walking on clouds. Like it was so uncomfortable. So I couldn't move much because every time I'd move,
walking on clouds sounds like actually something like good. So I don't know if that's like a good analogy, because when I picture walking on clouds, I'm like, wow, that sounds so like soft and like
I wonder
light, but like I don't think that's what you felt.
Yeah, maybe not that nice, but it was so. It felt
like you were like probably like filling with like, oh my gosh, you were a water balloon filling up.
Yes, like I could not stretch anymore, and it was so tight, and it just felt like it was like this thick. It was fucking insane, and every time I walk, it would expand more. So I was trying to stay off my feet for 8+ weeks, and then after having Denver, I fucking like it felt like I shattered my tailbone, but I didn't. It's just how she came out sunny side up. It's like a deep internal bruise that I couldn't drive for 5 months, which is insane because I couldn't sit. Like I was so convinced that I would never be able to sit up straight like this again because I was having to sit on my side. I couldn't. It was the most excruciating pain. I was like, wow, I am so grateful in life to have experience being able to just sit normally and not have to think about sitting, because now I have to think about sitting every time I sit down. So it was such a hard thing, but
it's like when you're sick and like you can't breathe out of your nose, and
Right.
you're like, I'll never take that for granted.
Yes, that's me with sitting now. Like I never take sitting for granted anymore. And but those 2 pregnancies set me back really, really deep, and I was so uncomfortable afterwards with everything, and I had gained so much weight with Denver. I think I gained like 60 pounds, and my mom, they say that could be like genetic because my mom gained 50 with me, so I was kind of expecting that to happen from hearing what other people said, but the fluid just gained more.
Yeah.
But Zach and I have started walking 10K steps a day minimum, and it literally is life-changing. And I swear, like, I didn't notice it until Zach and like his parents would be like, oh, like you look, or my grandma would be like, oh, you look like you've lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, really? Thanks. Like, I appreciate that. But like, I don't notice it because I see myself every day. But now fitting into clothes that I got like 5 months postpartum, and they're so loose on me, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this 10K step thing must be working. And you know, you see, honestly, it's all over TikTok. Like, walk 10K steps a day and it will change your life. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I am here to say that I don't care if it's physical, but like, I just feel good. Like, I feel accomplished. 10K steps for me is around like 4 miles.
Yeah.
So I just like feel good. And I timed it, quote, timed it the other day. And it took me like a little over an hour when I was just like leisurely strolling with Denver. So an hour a day, that's what I just need to put into it if I do it without Zach. So another thing that's been helping me is resetting the night before, because I'm the one who's at home with Denver all day. So how I think about it is, what's going to make my day easier tomorrow, where I'm not like, oh my fucking gosh, like this is going to be hard to do with Denver if she's having a hard day. So I try to like reset the whole house to whatever's going to make me easier. I draft all my emails at night because like I have my work hours that I set out to like detach myself from work. So I'm not, so people, it's like boundaries, you know? So I draft all my emails out, and so they're ready to send in the morning. I reset the kitchen. I put any laundry in the washer that needs to go in. Like, I don't start it, but then it's ready for me to start in the morning. I clean up areas. Like, I just do little things, and that's really helped fill my cup, because before that, it would just be like, okay, I wake up in the morning, fuck, I got all this shit to do and take care of her. And what I do now is I wake up like 2 hours earlier than she does, so that I can like try to get as much work done instead of staying up until 2 a.m. So it's like little things like that. Oh, let me just go back to the weight gaining thing. My feet. I don't know if you've experienced this. I've heard this from a few other women.
Feet are bigger.
Not just bigger, but like so much weight, and with the fluid from Denver, my outside rims of my heels are like hard calloused. I've never experienced that until both pregnancies, and they're so uncomfortable, just so uncomfortable. And I'm so like self-insecure about them. No one's ever said anything, but it's just me. And so the other, like 3 months ago, Zach's like, just go get a pedicure. He's like, here's my card. Just go get a pedicure. Like, take care of yourself. And I'm like, it felt like a chore. And after I was like, oh, this feels good. Like, now I feel better about myself.
Yeah.
Like a little thing like that. Now I feel good. And then now what I've just decided, because then I just got one like 2 weeks ago because they were bothering me again. They kind of like come up fast. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? So now I'm like, whenever I feel like that, when my mother-in-law watches her for one sole day a week, which is awesome. And then my mom comes in for like a few hours, 1 day a week, when she can like get a little bit of time off work. So between those 2 days is when I'm like, okay, I'm going to take that once a month just to go get it. Make myself feel good, you know, just like filling your own cup is so important. And I didn't realize that until like expressing gratitude and having that out of body experience. And just social media helps too. Yeah. Because they make you realize, like, are you filling your own cup? And I'm like, am I?
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. I think that I didn't really realize it until I started like seeing other people talk about it. And then I was like, no, I'm not filling my cup. I don't have anything that's just for me. And I've seen two people, like, they say that they have like one date night a week, and it's not a date night with or not a week, a month. I mean, if you can do a week, I guess like you could do that.
Impressive.
But like, who has the time to do every week?
Right.
But like, it's like a date night for yourself, and it's like the other parent keeps the kids, and like that's your day once a month, that like that's just your time. Like you go eat your favorite food, go out to dinner, go if you want to go, you know, like whatever you want to go do that you like to go do, like that's your time to go do it. You could go, you know, you can do it alone, you can go with a friend, like whatever it is, but like you have that like set built-in time that you know, like I'm gonna get this day eventually. Because I think that that's something too, like that at least like I know that I struggle with, like postpartum, like, and being so overwhelmed sometimes and overstimulated, is I'm like I want to pull my hair out, and I feel like this is never going to end. Right. Like, I feel like this day is never going to end. It's never going to be quiet again. Oh my gosh, like, I'm not going to ever have a moment to myself to, like, just breathe and not listen to screaming or have somebody touching me. And, like, being touched out, that's, like, a big thing, too, that I've been seeing a lot of people talk about that. And, like, I get that way where I'm like, I'll tell Brandon, I'm like, I need 5 minutes where no one is touching me. Right. Nobody's grabbing at me. Nobody's screaming at me. Like nothing. Like, you know, because like I either have a newborn or a toddler attached to me, and like one of them always needs something. And so sometimes I just need 5 minutes to go sit in my room or my bathroom or something and be like away from everybody, and like not have anybody need anything from me, but nobody touch me either. Like, who would have thought that being like even just like touched is such an overstimulating thing? And like, you know, like sometimes it's the dogs touching me, or like, you know, it's just, it's too much. Which
I had that feeling a lot when I was breastfeeding Denver. Oh my gosh, like the overstimulation, because also when it really came when I was pumping, because I'd be breastfeeding and then I'd have to pump at some point, and then it's like you have no break. It's back to the breastfeeding, especially when they're doing it every 2 to 3 hours. And I'm like, holy shit, like I am so fucking overstimulated. I got a baby on my boob. I got this pump sucking like milk out. Like I am literally going to lose my mind. And that was a lot too. And another thing, going back to filling my cup, I do not breastfeed anymore. It did not work out for me, but next kid I definitely will try again. But what I wasn't doing with Denver is I wasn't filling my cup by nourishing my own body during that time. I really was I wasn't meaning to self-sabotage myself, but I was not filling my body like with food and hydrating myself enough to where, like, sometimes when I'm home now with her, she's not doing anything, but like I just get like this overstimulated feeling, and I'm like, I've had coffee on like an empty stomach. I need to eat some like whole foods to fill my stomach. So what I've been doing now is during those 2 hours I'm awake, I'm not only like resetting and starting stuff that I need to for the day, but I'm making sure I drink water and make my coffee and eating something. Because when she's, as you know, when kids are awake, it's like, okay, go, like take care of them, do everything. So like I'm trying to make sure that I'm like nourishing myself during that time. I so often will like realize that I haven't eaten and it's like 3 o'clock. And I'm like, why do I feel I feel agitated. I feel shitty. Like, why do I feel this way? And then Brandon's like, well, what have you eaten? And I'm like, nothing. And he's like, well, you need to eat. Oh, we got a shout out from Sam. He said, you go girls. Amen, sister. Wait, did that just come through? Yeah. Hey, is it on Twitch or YouTube?
I have no idea. I don't know which one. It just says chat. But that's thank you, funny. Sam. I think it's from Sam. YouTube.
Nice. Yeah. So I think that next kid, it's obvious. I think we're losing Denver. It's obviously going to be hard, but I think you learn. I think as we grow with our kids. Yeah. And we just keep learning. So like you just keep learning each kid. Like now I kind of know what to prepare myself for and how to maybe treat myself better next kid. And it's going to be an added new thing and an added new adjustment that I need to put on. But now I kind of know, I felt this way with Denver. Like, let me do this so maybe I don't feel this way when it's now 2 kids you're having to do this with.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like coming from the perspective of going through it twice, is that, oh, Koopa, you okay, Bubby?
We're losing our kids. We can hear them downstairs.
Everyone's losing it.
It's that time of night.
But yeah, I think that a perspective that like kind of learned now going through it the second time. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but like I can logically understand that the feelings that I'm not feeling or that I'm feeling are like, they're not logical, but like they still feel very real.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yes. Well, like, right. Cause like the other day with Zach, I was like cooking dinner and I'm like, you're irritating me. I'm like, I'm sorry, but you are, and I'm not mad at you. I just like feel this way, but I'm going to let you know how I'm feeling so that if I like, I'm trying to control my impulsive, like hopefully I don't like snap or say anything mean, but like, I'm just letting you know that I feel this way. But you know what I saw the other day is it said that I'm trying to learn more about period cycles, like luteal phases and everything. Cause there's this one phase where they say you naturally get really irritated with your partner. And it's because your body's like, oh, you didn't get me pregnant this month. Like, fuck you, basically. And I'm like, I follow this girl on TikTok. I got to go down her page one day and just learn more. But I'm like, maybe I was just in that day the other day. Like, fuck you, get the fuck away. But, like, not really. Like, that's just my body. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's just my body. Like, but now I'm trying to, I'm trying to control that and be like, I'm in tune with my emotions. Like, I don't know why the fuck I'm agitated with you right now. You're not doing anything wrong, but I'm going to let you know. So if I'm coming off a certain way, I'm sorry. But, like, it helps, right? Yeah. Like, being in tune with that. Like,
yeah, sometimes I had to tell Brandon the other day, too. I'm like, he's like, are you okay? And I was like, no. And he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm just really angry at you. Like, I was like, I'm so mad at you right now. And he's like, why? And I was like, well, I think it's because of this, but honestly, I'm not even sure. Like, you're pissing me off. Right. Just your presence is bothersome to me right now. Like, don't touch me. Like, leave me alone. And like, if he were to ever say that to me, I'd be so sad.
Well, that's what I was just saying. It's funny because like they're probably like, what the fuck did we do? Like, seeing, you know, like it'd be so interesting to like feel their emotions. Like, damn, what the fuck did I do to agitate them? And I keep telling him, I'm like, it has to do with my period cycle. It has to do with my period cycle. And before I saw that girl's video on TikTok the other day, we had talked about that previously because I'm trying to slowly learn about it. And like when you have certain phases of your cycle, like this might be why your sex drive is higher, why it's lower, why you're more agitated. And it literally lines up. So it is so accurate. I'm going to send you her page later. Send it to me. Because, and then I saw that like, I think it was 2 days after I was like, I'm so annoyed with you right now. And I was like, oh, that's probably why, because you didn't get me pregnant. Like my body's like, fuck you. But like, not really, you know, it's just so weird. The body and the brain are so interesting.
Yeah. Definitely.
So intriguing.
We have another comment. It says, shit. Ashley in the house. Girls are getting me through the Stairmaster right now.
Yes.
And Sam said, where are the dads? Dads are downstairs. This is a mom-only podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, we're moms today.
They're fighting toddlers.
Yeah.
Bear came up here. Sam, I don't know if you're in, but he's like, we're losing them. And that was like 15 minutes ago, so they're definitely gone by now.
Yeah, but we're just talking about postpartum, the good, the bad, the ugly.
Sam, you're going to learn. Yeah. Wait, it's announced.
Yeah.
Sam, you're going to learn all about it coming up soon.
Yeah, so refer back to this podcast right before the little girl's born. So
oh my gosh.
Way, you know what to expect. You know, we're talking to you, Sam, actually. We made this episode just for you.
It's actually, I feel like even though guys might not think this way, it's so good for them to hear it from a different point of view, like us. Because it really could, how much, like, going into being a father, like, a new father, how do you know much?
I mean, I feel like the moms themselves don't know a lot of the feelings that they're having or why they're having them.
And it's nice to feel the same as some, like, oh, they go that, like, they go through that too. What was the comment?
It's from Jake, and it says, Sam. That's it.
That's funny.
But yeah, like I think that it's hard for everybody to understand the emotions, and like I said, you can logically understand that the emotions don't make sense, but that doesn't mean that you're not feeling them and that they aren't real. And so just because you're feeling them doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or something wrong with your relationship. And I think there's so much pressure as a new parent, not just mom, but new parent, to like, bond with your baby and have this overwhelming feeling of joy and love. And, that's not really the reality of it. I haven't really talked to any parents, honestly, that have experienced that immediate like, you know, they just there's this picture painted that your baby's put in your arms and you just have this immediate moment of like, I have such a great connection to them and this is the best moment of my life. And like, while it is one of the happiest ones to look back at, in that moment, you don't feel that. And then you feel like there's something wrong with you because of it. And it's such a guilty feeling that you get and you have, and then you analyze it and then you're like, what's wrong with me? Am I a terrible mom? Am I a terrible parent? I mean, I know Brandon even said like he had a hard time bonding with both boys, but especially Cortland because he was at work so soon after having him. So these are the uncomfortable things that I don't feel like people really want to talk about because it makes you feel bad and you're like,
it's like, oh, you're a shitty parent. Yeah, exactly. But like, no, your
so
feelings,
normal.
Your feelings are so valid. And I feel like a lot of people are hush hush about it because of the society. Don't get me wrong. Like what we're learning in society today is great, but so many things can make you feel so shitty like that. Yeah. Like if someone were to say like, oh my fucking gosh, you didn't have a bond with your baby. You were like, the fuck? Like, it's like, you're a horrible human. It's like, no, I just am expressing my feelings, you know. And it's good we're talking on this because Zach was reading a baby book and he had prepped me before Denver was born. He's like, you know, it's not like, I was just reading about it and he was saying how it might not be normal, like it's normal if you don't feel like you have a bond with your baby, not only when they're first born, but for like a few weeks after or months after. Like that is a normal thing. He's like, that is just within your emotions and your hormones, and that is a normal thing to feel. He's like, so if you feel that, he's like, don't be scared because I've read this is so normal. And like I feel like at first it was like that, not that I didn't have a bond with her, but I feel like because I went into it just being blindsided, like what
you have
I'm
this
a mom
expectation
now.
that it's like you're supposed to go into it and there's like this switch that's supposed to be switched on inside of your head or your body, like where, you know, like you do have that bond and you know that you love them, but like it's not this overwhelming feeling that it's painted to be and that you think it's supposed to be, and then it makes you think like there's something wrong with you, and like especially back in the day too, like pseudoscience is like a huge thing in my field of work. Hang on, let me brief intermission.
I'm gonna talk while you do that. So I have a friend who all she wanted to be in her life was a mom. That's all she wanted to be. That was like her identity that she wanted to be. In the moment that she had her child, she was like, I don't know, I'm gonna pause on this because I want Lexi to input. But hey guys, what's cracking? Sierra. It's just me. If I did a solo, what should I talk about? My job? Do you guys want to know a little bit more about me? I'm such a social person, but this is making me feel a little bit awkward. You can't even see me on the live. Okay, I was going to go on a thing, but I wanted your input on this. So I have a friend who all she wanted to do was become a mom. Like that was like her only identity. She's like, I don't want a job. That's all I want. She had her kid and she's like, oh, this is it? Like, I'm not feeling the feeling that I thought I'd feel. And then she went kind of down a rabbit hole, like, of feeling shitty, like, holy shit, I'm a shitty mom. Like, I don't have this bond with my baby. I didn't feel like when the baby came out, like, oh my gosh, like, this is what I wanted. And then that leads into, like, thoughts, and you're already going through hormonal changes, so it becomes, like, postpartum depression because you're like, fuck, I'm a shitty mom. Yeah. But in reality, like, no, even though that's everything and more that you wanted, it is so okay to feel that. Not everyone is going to feel that way, and that's okay. You might, don't get me wrong, you might, but like, I feel like the majority doesn't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's like one of those things that it's just not normalized quite yet, and we're getting to the point where it is, but it's blindsiding because you think like this is how it's supposed to be, and that's just really not the reality. Right. What I was going to say is that there's like, for autism, there in the 80s and 90s, there was this like ideology that the cause of autism is what they called a quote unquote refrigerator mother. And keep in mind, mother being the key thing. Mm-hmm. It wasn't refrigerator father, it was refrigerator mother. And mm-hmm. that meant having like a cold mother, you know, not one that was overly affectionate or, just what
Right.
like lovey-dovey type of mom, and that was the idea, is like, oh well, that's what causes autism. That obviously has been debunked. That's not true.
Yeah.
But I think that stands to so much of the pressure that society puts on moms to have to be a certain way, because no, that's just imagine those moms' perspectives.
Oh my gosh.
Feeling like being pretty much told like you are the cause of your child's autism because you're not loving enough, you're not affectionate enough, you're not a good enough mom.
That's
essentially.
so horrible.
And it had nothing to do with the dads. And people asked like, well, what about the dads? Oh no, psychologically the dads don't do anything to the children. It's just the bond with the mom. And it's like, that was such a terrible thing.
Even though it wasn't that long ago.
No.
Like, I feel like times have changed so much. Like, that if someone said that today, they'd be like, the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, the fuck? That's just, it's so sad for like the moms who had to endure like that brought on them, like, oh yeah, that's why, like, this is what you are. I
couldn't imagine going through like postpartum depression and anxiety, because I had experienced it. Like, I had experienced it for a prolonged period with Courtland. With Cooper, I'd say that I'm on the better end of it now. But I did have a little bit of it to start off with. And I just couldn't imagine living in a society or like that time frame where it was such a negative thing to feel those negative feelings. And mental health was such like hush conversation.
Like
we
burden.
don't acknowledge it.
Yeah.
And it'd be so lonely. Like, being a new mom is so lonely sometimes. And it's so, you truly don't get it until you're a mom. And I always see these posts that say like, I'm sorry to the moms before me. I didn't get it, but now I do.
Yes.
And
Preach.
You don't really understand that until you understand that.
100%.
And there's nothing wrong with not being able to understand that. But like, it's just it's an experience that all moms go through, but you don't go through it unless you're a mom.
No, yeah, 100%. I have friends of my own that extended friends, and they are now parents, but before, when I was pregnant both times, and now that they've had their kid, they're like, holy shit, I'm so sorry I wasn't there for you like during pregnancy, because I remember, I never voiced it, but I remember being like, oh my gosh, like, feels so shitty, like these people aren't reaching out to me, but they didn't know. And I put myself in their shoes and being like, okay, well, like, I didn't know either. Yeah,
I've never held it against anybody.
Right, no. Mm-mm.
But like, I don't think that people truly understand how lonely it is, because they think like, oh, well, all these people are coming to visit, and like, people are texting all the time, like, how's the baby and stuff.
Right.
But that's not the issue. Like, you can be surrounded by a room of people and still feel like you're so alone.
Right.
And it's because of the feelings and the thoughts that you're having. And like, I know that with Courtland, like, there'd be so many people around me, but everybody's focus was on the baby. And not that I wanted everybody's focus on me, but I was like, I'm just so not okay right now, and nobody even knows.
You're like crying out for help without crying out for help type of thing. Yeah.
And you're in like this daze, and you feel like you don't have control over your mind, your body, like anything. It's somewhat of an identity crisis. Like, you don't know who you are, how you stand, and everybody cares so much about the baby. And I think that that's something that's become so normalized too now, which I'm grateful for, is like, when you do come to visit, like, for the baby, like, remember that the mom also just went through a huge thing. Like, if you're going to come over, it's not, I don't want you to say like, oh, I'll hold the baby so that you can do laundry. I want you to do my laundry.
Please,
like,
do the dishes. Bring us a meal.
Yes. Like all these little things.
What can we do to make your life easier?
Yeah, exactly.
Type thing. And that's something that I definitely think we preached. And I did have some people reach out to me when we had preached that on previous podcasts. It must have been when I had Denver, you had Cortland around. Like, we said something like that. And it was so, like, they were like, oh my gosh, I never thought about it that way. And it's, I think, I don't know why people aren't thinking that way. It's just a way of how society's been like, oh my gosh, a baby's there, like, go see the baby. But it's like,
and I understand it to an extent. Like, everyone's excited. Everybody loves baby snuggles, baby cuddles. Like, that's something that people want to enjoy. And there are times, like, especially with Cooper, like, Cooper more so with than Cortland. Like there are times where I'm like, please hold him.
Right.
I don't want to be touched right now. Like I want my own time. So
Yeah.
like I'm okay with that. But then there's
Yes.
other times where I'm like, you know what? I don't want to give him up. I
No,
want to hold
right,
him.
yeah.
I waited 9 months to meet this baby that I
Right.
made. And so it's not, I don't feel like in our nature to be like,
No,
there,
right,
like,
right.
get off of me. Like, you know,
Yes.
like
Yes.
there's like baby needs mom just as much as mom needs baby.
Exactly.
At some points of like being freshly postpartum.
Well, yeah,
So,
they say for the longest time that they're so used to like your heartbeat
Yeah.
and that feeling and that sound that like they just want to be close to you
Yeah.
and like be comforted because they are just taken from
Yeah.
you, like taken outside of you, and then they're just out in a new world.
they don't
you
even know that they're like not a part of the mom for like, I think it's like, it's like a long time, like
Right.
5 to 7 months or
Right.
something like that, where they don't even grasp that they're their own being outside of
It's
you.
crazy.
So it's so crazy to think that like, you know, that's just the societal norm though of like, or at least it was. I feel like we're starting to break that as
Yes,
generations
I
come on.
agree
But
with
like
that.
people coming to visit at the hospital and just taking the baby from your
And
arms,
you're
like,
give me the food.
Yeah.
Like, where's my food?
Yeah.
Coffee?
yeah. But like no, like visitors, so like family
Yeah.
members, like coming into the like hospital room and being like, oh, I want to hold the baby and stuff. Like that's so just not natural.
Right. Right.
So,
And I do agree with you. I think, and like tying it back to social media, I think that's really helped it
Yeah.
because like you'll see people talk about this all the time. Like, hey, instead of just being like, hey, when can I come see the baby? Rephrase it as like, hey, can I come visit? And maybe like, can I pick you up coffee or like, can I get you a meal?
Yeah.
Is there something that I can do to make your day better? But then they also can see the baby
Yeah.
and hang out. And it should be a respect of like, too, maybe the mom literally just wants you can come see the baby, but like maybe just literally offer to do something.
I think something too that I wish honestly people did is like kind of ask like okay, like I'm gonna come and like what are your rules, what are your ground rules? Because I remember with
That's
Cortland,
good.
like I was so stressed out about having these boundaries and ground rules set,
Mm-hmm.
but I had them, I knew what I wanted them to be, but it felt so uncomfortable
To be like,
tell
hey,
people
this
that
is
like
what- yeah.
this is the expectation.
When it's so annoying that
Yeah.
I think that is still a thing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's not breaking as much because you see people who like come back to that, but it's like, this is my child you're coming to see.
yeah.
Like it should be a form of respect. Like
Yeah.
I'm their parent,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think that that's something I almost wish that was like just, I mean, I think to me, it's like common knowledge. Like, you know, I'm not going to do anything that you wouldn't like be okay with or like asking you first. But like, I almost wish that was kind of like just like the rule of thumb. Like if you want to come visit and you make a plan, you ask the parent like, okay, what are your ground rules? Because I remember with Cortland, like my boundaries were, you know, I wanted to make sure obviously like nobody's sick. Like you're not coming from a
course.
super public place where you have germs on your clothes, all those things. But also like something that I was pretty firm on is like I only wanted visitors for an hour max.
Right.
And if I was feeling up to it afterwards, like then I could say like, oh, okay, like, you know, like I'm having fun, like you feel free to stay or, you know, like whatever it may be. But like I didn't want to have the pressure to feel like I had to entertain for longer
Right.
than that.
Right.
Especially when you're so freshly postpartum because you want to sleep, you have
so
you have to
tired,
wash
yeah.
bottles, you have to pump, you have to do all these
Right.
different things. And, you know, it's like, then you feel like you're entertaining. And then, you know, then you get into that weird situation where it's like, oh, well, I can hold the baby while you go do those things. And it's like, well, no, I don't want to do that.
No,
And
right.
like,
Why do I want to do more work?
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
tired.
Exactly. So like, I feel like that's like something that could be like really, if you are a friend that having a friend who's having a baby, a family member, whatever, like that could be like a really great question to ask that I think would be really appreciated.
Yeah,
like,
me too.
what are you like? Okay, I'm planning on coming to visit. Like, not only like, do you want me to bring something? Can I do anything for you when I go there? But like, what's gonna make you feel most comfortable? What are your boundaries? Because I want to make sure that I'm respecting you, your boundaries, and your feelings, and making
Exactly.
this as positive an experience as possible
Yeah.
for you.
I think that's great. What's one form of advice, let's go back and forth, that you would give to a new dad? And then one form of advice you would give to a friend that does not have a kid yet, but they have friends that are either having kids or have had kids.
I think that for a dad, I would say like give give yourself, but give your spouse especially grace, because it's such a hard time. And I said it earlier and I've said it probably multiple times, but like nobody feels worse about the feelings that you're having than the mom who's having it, because she knows those feelings don't feel great.
Right.
So like, you know, like don't add it on and be like, well, why do you feel this way? Like,
Right.
you know, like you should be happy right now. Like we should all be happy. And like, I don't understand why you're so sad. Like, you know, like don't make them feel worse than they already do, because nobody's beating themselves up more than they are. And just give them grace. Like, you know, like they might be crying for absolutely no reason. And like, that's okay. Or they might be angry at you for absolutely no reason. And like, as shitty as it sounds to say, like, just deal with it. Like, you kind of just have to deal with it to an extent. I mean, like, there's an appropriate and an inappropriate way to do that, obviously. And, like, I'm not saying that it's excusable for just because somebody is postpartum to, like, you know, treat somebody horribly or anything. But, like, just give them a little more grace and patience than you normally would, because there's a lot happening, and they already know that they're probably acting crazy. They're probably angry at themselves for even being angry at you. I know that I go through that sometimes, where like when I get that postpartum rage where I'm like, I'm mad at myself for being mad. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm mad. And now I'm mad at myself because I'm mad, and I'm mad at myself because I don't know why I'm mad. And it's just this like cycle. And so I think that giving grace is like the biggest thing that you could do for your partner who is freshly postpartum. And for a friend, I'd say same thing, but in obviously a little bit of a different way. Like, I appreciate so much the people who reached out and said, like, I hope that you're doing well. How are you doing and stuff. But also it is so overwhelming sometimes to like have to respond to a text messages.
I know, you feel so bad.
You feel so bad for not responding. And then the longer it goes on, the worse you feel. And then you get this anxiety. And then you get to this point where you're like, I haven't responded for so long that like now it feels awkward responding, but not responding feels rude. And so I always like, I feel like I always try to like text when I do text people who are even like postpartum or just going through a hard time in general. Like, I always started off with like, do not feel like you need to respond to this text message, because I know that I have such a hard time responding to text messages sometimes. So knowing that like the person isn't really expecting a response out of me is kind of just like a weight lifted off my shoulders. Because I appreciate so much people caring enough to check in on me, but at the same time, it's adding one more thing to my to-do list.
It feels like another chore when it shouldn't be. But it's not that we're not grateful. Like you said, we're like extremely grateful for you just checking in, but it's just like we are getting a handful of messages. So it's like, oh, another person, like we are so grateful, because I experience that so much.
Do not call. Like, I think that's like my biggest thing too. Like family members who are always like calling and they're like, I just want to see how you and the baby are doing. I'm like,
please just text me.
I appreciate that, but like I can't sit on the phone with you right now. Like, especially when they call like during nap time or something, and I'm like,
because your free time is going to want to be spent, and it's okay that this might sound ungrateful to people, but that's okay for us to feel that way, because like we've talked about, all feelings are valid and we're able to feel how we feel. And like during a nap time, you just want to do what you need to do, whether that's rot on the couch and just scroll, or it's getting stuff done where you're just like, I'm all over the place. Like I can't like, I'm sorry, but like maybe I'll call you when I'm like in the car going somewhere.
A conversation I had with my mom too, that like, and she was like, I didn't really think about it this way. Like, cause she was saying like, you know, people are asking me, you know, can they call you? They want to check on you. They don't know how to do it, or like they just want you to know that they're thinking of you. And I was so down in the dumps with the postpartum depression and baby blues, like that first couple of weeks. And I was like, I don't want to have these conversations right now, because they're going to ask me how I'm feeling. And the truth is, I feel terrible. I'm not happy right now. Like, it's not sunshines and rainbows. I don't feel good. Like, you know, I'm miserable right now. I'm sad, and I feel ashamed that I feel this way. I feel guilty that I feel this way, and I don't want to have to keep having these conversations over and over and over and over again with everybody.
Like copy and paste.
Exactly. And I know that they're calling for good reasons. They don't have any negative intent with it, but I don't want to talk to them right now because I'm not happy.
And like maybe talking about it would make you even
Yeah.
bring you back to those feelings that you aren't wanting to feel right now because you're trying to do something else
Exactly.
and like kind of take your mind off
Yeah.
it. So I feel that on a hardcore level. And it's awkward too because if like you just answer, they're like, oh hey, like how are you doing? You're like, well, I feel like dog shit.
Yeah, my
like,
mom.
I feel fucking like
that
shit.
was my mom's. My mom's like, well, tell them like you don't feel great, and like I was like, but I don't want to do that because I don't want to have to talk about it.
Because then they'll
But
ask
then-
you, which they're just trying, they're doing it out of
Yeah.
love, but then it goes into like, oh, what can I do for
Yeah,
you? Like, I'm
exactly.
so
And
sorry.
then-
And it's like, well,
But then on the other hand, if you lie and you're like, oh, I'm fine, like everything's fine, you know, and they're like, isn't this the best? And you're like, yeah. And you're like, no, this fucking sucks right now. This is terrible.
Right.
Like, so, you know, I think that that'd be like, from a friend perspective, it's such a hard balance because you want to make sure your friends feel like you're there for them and they're supported and stuff. And they're just so appreciated to know that you're not alone and that you could reach out if you want to.
yeah.
But that you might not want to
Right,
either.
right.
And I think that was like, I deal best with it that way. Like I didn't want to like talk about it. I
Right.
needed to just deal with it internally and like at home with like Brandon or like my mom.
Right.
Like I didn't want it to be like this big thing where I was talking to so many people about it, because every time I talked about it, it just made me so upset and I felt so guilty and I didn't like the guilt that I was feeling. And so it felt like if I told more people, it was just making it worse for me because
Right.
I felt guilty. And then I'm like, oh, well, now they probably think I'm a terrible mom too. And that's an added stress to it. So
And sometimes we can call it selfish, even though it's not, but sometimes you just have to be selfish.
Yeah.
You just put yourself first.
I'd say that's one thing that I've learned as being like a parent, is how to set boundaries. Like I've never
That's
been good
good,
at
yeah.
that, but like I feel like being a parent has kind of
Self-growth.
has like it kind of forces you to learn
Yeah.
how to set boundaries, because you're not only setting boundaries for yourself, but like you're setting them for your kids too.
Right.
So
Right. So
Okay, so-
you had similar answers as me. So I'm
Okay.
going to try to take a twist on it. Is one thing I would do for a new father is to like explain those feelings. Maybe just like take the time outside of before you have a child to just like if your spouse is pregnant, to learn about ways you can help your wife or spouse, girlfriend, fiance, anything postpartum, like how you can help them. And when they are feeling those feelings, maybe do a little bit research, like, okay, when they're feeling those feelings, like tell them that it's okay to feel those feelings, and maybe just like give them an alternative in the moment and be like, just remind them like it is okay to feel these feelings. Like it is let them know that it is normal, and finding like an alternative method instead of being like kind of like a fight or flight that they might go into because your spouse doesn't want you to feel that way. So they're like, well, it's okay. And like everyone's just like freaking out in the moment, but just like, if you're calm, your partner's going to be
nothing
calm.
stresses me out more than when I'm stressed and anxious, and Brandon, especially Brandon specifically, because Brandon is so just like whatever all the time, that if like he's panicked at all, I'm like, oh shit.
Right.
Fuck.
So like even if you are panicked because your spouse is panicked, just try to be mindful in that moment. Be like, okay, let me just like in tune with your body
a little.
Yes.
You need to put them first.
Yes, being like, okay, let me just try to settle myself down. One thing we've been trying to do is when I feel like my cortisol levels are spiking and my high blood pressure, I tell Zach, I'm like, I can't talk about this right now. Like if they spike, I'm gonna get a migraine. Like I'm trying to keep it low because it only makes your blood pressure go up and creates all these bad things. So that's one thing I've been working on and like being really in tune with that. And I think he's been great at that since I've been bringing it up because I'm learning about that. And yeah, so let me go into the friend thing.
I think though that sometimes it's beneficial to ask, do you want just somebody to listen, or do you want like a solution?
Oh, that's a good one.
I told Brandon today, I'm like, sometimes I just want to come to you and I just want to say,
just yap, go,
I just want to like
vent.
tell you how angry I am, how whatever, like how something's stressing me out, something's pissing me off. And when you give me solutions, it just makes me more upset.
Right,
like,
because that's not what you want to hear.
I don't want to hear
Yeah.
it. I just want you
That's
to
a
like
good
listen
thing
to
to say.
what I'm saying, just so I can get it out of my system. And I already have made up my mind usually probably of how I'm going to respond to like
Right.
this or like get over it. But like, I just need to get the negativity out of my
Mm-hmm.
system. And so then when he's like adding in all these like extra things, I'm like, no, I don't want to hear that.
Right,
I
right.
just want you to like listen to what I'm
I
saying.
love that.
And just be like, yeah, that's shitty.
Right.
And so I think too, like asking too, like, do you want me to like help you like resolve this, or like is this more just like a vent sesh? Because
I love
when
that.
you're like getting people throwing all these things at you, sometimes you're just like,
it overwhelms you even more.
Yeah, and then it makes you mad, and then you're like, I wish I didn't even say anything.
Right. One thing for the friend, what if you have a friend or a family member who is on their first kid, their second, their 15th kid, what you should do for them is just be there for them. And what I mean by be there for them is something like Lexi, we're going off similar, but I'm trying to give it a twist with it. So pretty much what Lexi said is like, just being like, you do not have to respond, but like, I'm just letting you know that I'm thinking of you and like, let me know if you need anything. Instead of being like, let me know if you need anything, maybe just be like, hey, I don't have to see you or the baby, but like, can I just drop food off at your front door? Because I am the chef in our house and I love cooking, but the last thing I wanted to do was cook postpartum. I just had no energy. I was so fucking tired. And like Zach will tell you, he doesn't know how to cook. Like, and that's okay. That's whatever. But it was so frustrating because we were always having to think about our next meal.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to cook. So I think coffee is a hit or miss one because a lot of people just want to sleep, but then some people want to stay awake.
Yeah.
So I would say if you could just be like, hey, can I just drop food or coffee off?
Yeah,
by
you
your
guys
door?
are adamant about that. You guys
Yeah.
are texting us like all, and I was like, I mean, I don't really need food right now, but but like, yeah, the thought just like made it so it was just such a nice gesture. Like, and the thought just made you be like, okay, well, if I am like having a night where I'm like,
right,
the last thing I can do right now is feed myself, feed anybody, like, or even think about it. Like that is
right. Do you smell Bear cooking like, is that, it smells like pasta. You think he's cooking pasta?
I don't think so. We're on a diet, so I don't think so.
I think that one other thing we should talk about is on your next kid, as you guys are planning to right now, like eventually have a third down the road. But if you don't, but if you were going to, what is something that next time around you would be hopeful that someone changed, whether that's like a family or friend, what they could do differently to like support you in a way, you personally?
That's a good one.
Because now you've gone through two
Yeah.
kids. So that's why I'm asking like you. Because my first one would be just more kind of what I said, just being like, hey, I don't have to see you or the baby, but can I drop you off breakfast? Can I send you something for dinner? Don't get me wrong. We had that happen, which I'm very grateful for, but I feel like it didn't come from people that I thought it should have came from.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that honestly, this is something I did for Kayla when she had Everly, and it's something that I kind of wish was done for me. But like a little postpartum basket, because everyone comes and they bring gifts for the baby, but you know, like nobody really thinks about mom or just parents in general, and just like stuff that you just like need. Like, I mean, like obviously like fun, like little things, like self-care things could be nice, you know, like a face mask or, you know, those types of things. But like I got Kayla one of these water bottles to like help with hydration and like dry shampoo, like,
that's,
you know,
a great
like
idea.
just
I
like
think that's
random little
I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea, because I know it's like we talk about helping the parents out, but like helping the mom out.
Yeah.
So what would be your ideal postpartum basket?
I think you were talking about bringing food, and the food part wasn't something that I struggled with so much about like making dinners, but the dishes.
Okay.
But paper plates are not something that like I feel like I want to spend money on. Like to me, it feels like a waste of money.
Right.
So like I didn't buy them because I couldn't justify spending money on them. But like that's like something that like I wish almost that I had, is just like paper plates, so that I didn't have to do dishes if I didn't want to do dishes.
Right.
Like, you know, just little pick-me-ups too. Like I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like a lot of people say they're different, but like freshly postpartum, like I don't eat. I don't know why. Like breastfeeding, like I have no appetite.
Yeah.
Like I do not want to eat. Like I know other people are like, I'm breastfeeding, I'm hungry all the time. Like no, like
I wasn't that hungry
when
either.
I was breastfeeding, I would not eat, and Brandon's like, you have to eat if you want to breastfeed.
Yeah.
Like you're taking so much energy, so much nutrients for your body. You have to eat. You have to nourish your body. And I'd be like, I literally do not want to. I was like, food makes me sound so bad to me right now.
Right.
So little like snacks or like protein shakes or things like that.
Okay.
I think just like I love my water bottle. Like new water bottle is like
love
something that maybe like
I think this could be a great idea for listeners. So.
Like a gift card maybe to like when you are feeling up to it, that you could go out and, you know, whether it's, you know, I would say something specific, like where she has to spend it on herself, like a pedicure.
Okay.
Like a pedicure certificate.
Like she has no option.
Yeah,
that's
like
because
if you gave me a Target gift card, I'm gonna go buy something for the baby. Like I'm not gonna go buy something for myself.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So like that, or like an American Eagle gift card or something, like a clothes gift card where like it's not like a generic store, like it's like something where like I'm not gonna be able to go spend it on somebody else. I have to spend it on myself, because that's something that I think that probably like people give me gifts, but if I can spend it on my kids, I'm gonna spend it on my kids. And that's like Brandon's the opposite. Brandon's like, oh, they gave Portland $75. I can put that towards an Xbox. Like that's like something so like silly that he does. But like to me, I'm like, oh, I got a $200 gift card. Like I can buy new clothes for the kids. I can buy pacifiers. I can buy soap. Like, and you know, like I can buy so much stuff that they need. I can buy Cortland a new toy, and it's like addressed to me, but I'm looking at it as how I can spend it on him or them now. So just things that like literally like have to be for the mom.
Okay, that's good.
I think those
I
are
like that. I think that's fantastic. I've never thought about like, even though like I said, filling the mom's cup, but never that way. Like stuff that she literally uses on herself. Yeah, because I'm the same way. Like if I get something like that, I'm like, oh, here goes Denver. But I'm not like, I'm not like, oh, it's going to Denver. Like I want to, you know?
Like,
so
like if I can, I will. So like you have to like force me to like, you have to force me to do stuff for myself, honestly. And like the only way that you're really going to be able to do that is if like I literally have no other option. Like obviously Cortland's not going to get a pedicure.
Right. Maybe Bear wants to get a pedicure.
No, he said he's weird about people touching his feet.
Oh, so he's never gotten one.
Yeah.
Nice.
No, I think he would like it if he gave it a chance, but
so do I. I think he would. I think that was good. I think this was so good for upcoming parents to be, dads, moms, people who don't have kids. I think this is just such an informative podcast. We've wanted to do something like this for so long.
Yeah,
I'm really glad. 2025 we've said is like our consistent year. Last year was hard, Denver and then Cooper, and just like adjusting with everything. But I feel like we're in a good groove. I think just we're finally, the studio, Bear, shout out Bear, like we got
Brandon
a space.
Being a stay-at-home dad is definitely gonna like be able to help us too, because he's able to put more focus to it. Because like when he's working 40 hours a week, I'm working like 45-50 hours a week. Like
it's exhausting.
You and Zach are working all that time. Like we were all working 40 plus hours a week, and like and then trying to be a new parent too, like that's like where are we supposed to have the time to do this stuff? So but we're definitely trying to be more consistent and make this successful. And if you like us and you want to help us be successful, that's obviously greatly appreciated.
Yes, please follow us on our socials. Pretty much we're dads all around, right? I think one of them we had to put we are because it was taken or something. But also to give us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, that always helps. And then
sharing with your friends,
share it,
family,
be like, hey, check out this new podcast.
This podcast is so funny. They upload.
And our YouTube. If you guys could just hit subscribe. I feel like I did that the other day to someone. They like posted it and I was like, fuck care, like why am I not doing this?
I feel
it's
like
just an easy thing.
I've been thinking about that so much now that we've been trying to grow the podcast, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm like stingy with like my like follows or my likes or something, because like I don't mean to be like consciously, but subconsciously I am. Like even on TikTok, like I'll laugh at something, I think it's great, but I don't like it. Or like I watch all of these people's videos when they come up on my For You page, but I don't follow them. And like I don't know why. And so I've been trying to get in the habit of doing that, because it's just something that I do subconsciously. Like, I don't mean to be like a hater and be like, I don't want to follow him, but like, I just like don't, I don't know why, I just like don't. Right. And now that like we're trying to do it, I'm like,
yeah, it helps out so much.
It helps so much. And like, you know, people do this because they like to, but you need some positive reinforcement to keep going.
Yes. And to just like, for example, we can't even go live on our own TikTok until we get 1,000 followers, which is insane. So we're having to go live on mine, which is like, it's a push-pull thing because we can't like really promote us directly, but we're trying to make it work. It's just nice but another way of trying, I've been trying to look at it, is like everyone starts from something, right? Like no matter if you start up a business, whatever you're starting up with, but like, even like the amount of likes on Instagram, I've seen posts like this and all the time, and you get 10 likes on a post, that's 10 people complimenting you. Yeah. You get 10 follows, that's 10 people complimenting you. Like 10 people is a lot. Yeah. You know? So it's just like, no matter what, like you're engaging with people who want to engage with you. So that feels good. Even if it's like a handful of people, like that's okay. But if it's way more than that, obviously that's amazing. Yeah. But just like doing something too that we'd like it's like, it's good to show up and show out, but like doing the craft that you actually enjoy. Yeah. You know? And
we love hearing too that like people like our podcast. I know. It's just something fun that we do and we just enjoy doing it. But like to know that other people also enjoy listening to it and tuning into it. And, you know, we got the pleasure of meeting Maddie, who is like our biggest fan apparently at a baby shower a couple weeks ago, and that was super cool. We can pull up like the analytics of our podcast and see like where people are listening from. We have a fan in Germany who downloads all of our podcasts.
That's
cool. So I don't know who you are, but if you if you want to, like, DM us so that we can know who you are and give you a shout out. We really enjoy like knowing that people like listening to our podcast, and you know, we're trying to like kind of figure out how to make this like a professional type of podcast, a big podcast would go. And so it's like a lot of learning for all of us, but
yes, learning as we go, but it just enjoying it at the same time. And we appreciate everyone's support so much. It's so cool. Like, I love when people will send us messages and be like, oh, we were listening to this, and like that someone said this. And one of the listeners, she's a friend that we actually went to school with, and she said her kid was dancing to the theme song. And I was like, that's so cute. Like,
that's so funny.
So funny. Like, that's Bear.
Yeah.
Like, that's just Bear.
Literally. like so, he made that. That's so funny.
So funny. Well, I think this was good. What time is it now? How long was that?
I don't know what the total time is because it doesn't tell me, but it's 8:44. So we're pretty
nice. Yeah. That was I think that was a really good, just yapping and informative session podcast for everyone to listen to.
Yeah. I think that, you know, if the statistics stay it, maybe we do need a new logo, but it's just Sierra and I instead. It's not all four of us. It's just me and Sierra.
Yeah. It's now we're moms.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. Bye, guys. Hit this one.
Yeah.
Oh shit. We're dead.